Aerodrome Finance Price Update, why this is your last chance for the real parabolic mania phase. My name is mikemadz. Let's start this video. Before I start the video, as always, show me that you're still around. Every like matters, every single comment matters. The more people engage, the better for the video, the better for the entire community, and more importantly, the better for our tokens. I appreciate you. Let's start. All right, let's stop wasting time. Let's jump straight into it, especially here as the markets are heating up. Mania seems like to be around the corner, and actually it seems like we are getting into this last push of the cycle here in the next couple months, where altcoins potentially can have this mania phase and reaching finally our price predictions we are preaching here since the last couple of years, basically. Okay, now today, of course, covering Aerodrome. Aerodrome road to all-time high. Yes, Aerodrome and a potential road here back to the all-time high with a price prediction with a different kind of approach, which I didn't see on any YouTube video ever before. True 100x base altcoins. If this mania phase is actually in play, microcaps are gonna absolutely explode, guys, and we have to see here what is actually possible and which projects are actually my favorites right now on the base ecosystem, and prepare for this right now. If this might be not the case here, which most people are expecting here, this mania phase, you should be preparing for this potential trap, and we'll cover that, what it actually is together, okay? Now, Aerodrome, road to all-time highs. Let's check out what I'm talking here about. Now, this is not the Aerodrome chart. This is actually the Aerodrome to Ethereum chart. So how Aerodrome is performing against Ethereum. Why is this important? Basically, guys, of course, base is an L2 on Ethereum, and it makes sense to compare it to the blue chip crypto here, as you don't want an altcoin with more risk here that doesn't even outperform Ethereum. Plus, this chart actually shows you when is actually time for Aerodrome to potentially finally have its next leg up. And this chart can also show you what is actually possible here if Ethereum reaches our price target here of around $7,000. Now, taking a look at this chart here, potentially, I mean, it's not a guarantee, we are forming some sort of triangle here. What does it mean here? As of right now, as you can see here, unfortunately, Aerodrome is bleeding to Ethereum, as Ethereum is simply finally catching up to the entire space. But in the grand scheme of things here, of course, this is not a net negative. This is actually a positive, as the higher Ethereum goes, the potential for this entire base ecosystem projects is much, much higher, and the room for our price targets actually increases here. Now, as you can see here, currently Aerodrome is bleeding against Ethereum, but there is a potential inflection point here at this trend line where Aerodrome and mid caps start to catch up to Ethereum here and hopefully start to reach those higher targets up here. Now, with this type of calculation here, if Ethereum actually reaches the target of $7,000 this cycle, Aerodrome can be around the level of $4 at minimum, let's say. Okay, so Aerodrome, $4 makes sense. It's a rational price prediction. I know some people like to hear higher. I know some people like to guess lower, but actually $4 from those current prices right now is actually very, very impressive here. Can we go higher? Yes, of course, we can go higher, especially if Aerodrome starts to outperform Ethereum here and start actually not oscillating, but actually be an outperformer against Ethereum. Then, of course, Aerodrome can go higher. But in the midterm, and if this mania phase and alt season is actually in play already, let's reach the $4 level here. Now, of course, before all of that, as I always say, let's first get back to all-time high, which can happen very fast, actually, surprisingly, if this market sentiment is actually true here, and if liquidity actually will flow from Bitcoin to Ethereum here. Okay, but super, super important chart. Take a look at it, have it on your radar, and this is actually something that makes sense in my personal opinion, not a moon boy prediction and not too bearish also in my personal opinion. Okay, now taking a look at the Aerodrome chart. Just like I told you here in my last videos, this is not going to be a V-shaped recovery, new all-time highs within weeks, and as you can see here, this level for Aerodrome is basically one of the most important levels here to gauge if Aerodrome is going to finally show the real strength here in the mid to short term, and to finally start pushing for this $1 and $2 mark price targets. As you can see here, this level is around, let's say, the level of 74 cents. Multiple rejections here. Simple, okay, very, very simple TA, but usually simplicity is the best. We, of course, had this massive recovery here. So from the lows, congratulations if you bought. From the highs, this can simply be just a lower high, just like I said here. And of course, while the sentiment right now is absolutely crazy and everyone is guessing here that the alt season might be around the corner, you have to watch this like a hawk here, guys, because charts like this, don't usually reverse here to the upside in a V-shaped recovery form this massive W, unless there is mania back into play and there's retail back into play. So let's see how this goes. Very, very important level. If you see Aerodrome closing, weekly closes here above this 72, 74 cent level, you can enter back in. If you're on the sidelines, nothing has changed. Altcoins still very undervalued in my personal opinion if we are in the bull market. Take a look at the true 100x base plays here. Now, you can imagine once Ethereum is actually at $7,000, once mid caps actually find real bid, of course, liquidity will flow into micro caps because people seek more upside here the further we go into this mania phase here. Now, why is this the case? Because those retail latecomers, they look at Bitcoin, it's going to be at 150K, let's say, they're going to think it's too late. They look at Ethereum, it's at 7K. Most people have a target of 10,000. They think it's going to be too late. And then, of course, the only options are going to be micro caps. And this is where retail usually comes in. And you can only imagine how crazy this last phase of the cycle can get here if microcaps actually catch real bid here. And this is why we are positioned here in those base projects, because of course we are bullish on the base ecosystem. Okay, nothing has changed here. And second of all, base has a massive upside potential, especially now with Coinbase absolutely thriving here, being on the S&P 500. You can imagine here the flywheel effect that can happen in the base ecosystem. Now, of course, nothing has changed here with Ample. Ample launched. The team is building like absolutely crazy. A very founder-led project here with the founder himself here. You can see him basically daily on Telegram, daily on Twitter, pushing content like crazy, building like crazy, and spreading the word here. Very, very important and very undervalued here. Actually, it's straight. What are the founders doing here with their project? Now, the project launched, as I said here in my last videos. As you can see here, this is, in my personal opinion, a very, very healthy chart. Finding this bottom at around 300K market cap. So the upside potential is absolutely massive here with Ample and with the AMP token. Why I'm still so bullish on it? Very, very simple. Ample falls into the IP play here. Intellectual property rights, tokenizing this entire narrative makes absolute sense here. And also here, Ample falls into the RWA narrative here. Now, RWA is not hot right now, but this is actually the most important case here. You need to be in the narrative before the attention flips back into it. Position yourself right now, wait for the attention to come, wait for the liquidity to come, and this is usually how to make this outsized gains here. Now, as you can see here, RWA, absolutely massive market here. Tokenized US treasuries have officially surpassed $7 billion in TVL here. So massive market, massive upside, great team, building like crazy. And more importantly, also now here, staking is going to be available very, very soon. And we'll talk about staking here actually in the short term with the flywheel effect that can be life-changing here without sounding too moonboyish, okay? Also a great comparison here. And this is a great way to look up to something, to see the future of Ample here. Even if we get only a percentage of that, this is a great comparison as Story IP here, another project here, already over $7 billion in market cap. Now, this narrative is being absolutely slept on, and it's not too crowded, as I say here. Being on base here, being with Kenny here and the founders here pushing daily, this is one of my biggest bets here on the base ecosystem. I'm not selling, not planning to sell anytime soon here. And of course, it's a micro cap, so you don't need a big position here, okay? You don't need a massive position here in order to make massive gains. I know, guys, those charts are scary for beginners, but trust me, this thing can look absolutely crazy here in the next couple months once the liquidity flows in. Another project here, of course, I like to cover on my channel pretty often here, is going to be Pockpock and Pack. Many questions here about it. Guys, nothing has changed. As much as I repeat it here, again here, it's just getting better. The product is getting better, okay? The platform is just getting better here. It's better than ever before. It's much better actually than it was up here. Price-wise, the protocol is much better, but of course, the price is not reflecting that. Why is that? Because guys, right now, it's not the time for microcaps, which does not mean, guys, you should position yourself right now, not position yourself right now. In contrary, this is the time to position for this microcaps, because if the liquidity flows like we intend it to flow here, this thing will absolutely see those moves again and more, guys, just like I said here. Now, currently, with a market cap with less than $1 million, this actually had a nice catch-up play also, but anything below $1 million is an absolute steal, and even anything above $5 million is an absolute steal here for Pockpock. And as you can see here, They're building like crazy. Staking is also coming here for Pockpock with XPack. And why is this so important? I will cover shortly. But also very, very important alpha node here. If you care about those things here, which in my personal opinion, they're super important. The founder of Pockpock is actually now officially with the base Singapore team here. In my personal opinion, this is absolute crazy alpha. Of course, being deeply connected with the base ecosystem here, as a founder of a base project here, you can just guess it yourself here, 1 + 1 = 2. Now, what is happening? Why is it so important that staking is happening on those microcaps? Why is that so important? Because in my personal opinion, this gives you the option of this flywheel effect. First of all, this flywheel effect happened with Alienbase. Okay, I covered Alienbase while it was a microcap. This flywheel effect actually was exactly happening with Alienbase. And also you can check out my channel here. I had an interview with a good friend which made use of this flywheel effect last cycle, and he made an absolute crazy 7-figure move exactly with this effect. What is actually this effect here? It's pretty simple. You find a low cap token. Okay, it needs to be low market cap. You have to find something that is actually worth investing into, which is not easy to do, especially on base here. This is why those two base projects I'm very, very bullish on. So find the low cap token. Make sure that staking is available, okay? Why is that important? Because now you have a low market cap token here that is severely undervalued. You have staking available, so you're increasing your position size here, okay? While the MENA is not there yet, while the bid is not there yet, so you're increasing your position size without additional funds of your own, increasing your token and waiting for this attention. Once this attention comes here, once the liquidity comes, you have this flywheel effect of creating, or the possibility here to create an absolute massive bag here. As moon boyish as this might sound here, I've seen it over and over again, and this is actually, in my personal opinion, one of the best ways to actually make it in crypto. All right, coming to the end of the video, but actually one of the most important parts here of this video, and I don't urge you to skip this, make sure to understand, is that this is actually a possibility you should be preparing for. As bullish as I might have sound here in this video, I'm actually still very, very cautious here at this current market pump here. Why is that? Because you have to prepare for each outcome, and once the majority thinks something is happening, it is actually not the case. We had the exact same here. Like, guys, last month everybody thought it's going to be over, everybody, but then of course the opposite happened and it caught most people by surprise. While this is not always the case, this is actually most of the time the edge investing here. And as you can see here, this is simply just scenario analysis. Okay, why is this important? Because you have to make sure to have an invalidation here, or to have invalidation levels for your theory. Otherwise, you will end up like most people end up in this space, which is the harsh truth here. Most people, guys, absolutely most people will round trip their entire gains this cycle. And believe it or not, most people will leave the cycle with a loss. This is simple statistical reality, and if we know this reality, and if we know the stories, and if I'm personally telling you from my personal experience here, guys, that most people will fall in this trap, why are you ignoring it? Why do you think you're not the one that's going to happen to? This is simple, just human psychology. It happened to me last cycle. I round-tripped every single penny and more. So make sure to be prepared for every single scenario. So as bullish as I might sound here in my next videos, I'm still very, very cautious, okay, personally, and I'm personally still aware that everything can change. With one bad employment print, this entire structure can change, and then all of a sudden we look at charts, and those charts here are actually just simply lower highs here. So make sure to have invalidation levels. I want to stress this as much as possible, and I want to give you an example here. Very, very simple example. Now, most people right now in your head, if you look at this chart without my drawing, most people are expecting absolute mania starting from tomorrow. Definitely the case here, especially if something bullish happens here, liquidity-wise, a big liquidity event. This can be the case here. We can pump another 50% here, easily, okay? But what actually might be the reality is something along those lines here. And for you, you just need to be ready for this reality. You don't need to react right now, but you have to have a plan if this happens. Because when investing here, it's an if-then sport here, basically. As you can see here, if this is the case here, if you have an upside invalidation or an upside deviation here for Bitcoin, maybe reaching 120K, and then having another rejection here in the summer months, which is very, very typical here, especially in August, maybe the Bank of Japan raises rates again. Never know. Like last year, you never know. If Bitcoin has another 20 to 30% correction, altcoins can get absolutely wrecked, guys. And then maybe we'll have a real alt season. So make sure to be prepared for the scenario. I don't want to be this absolutely crazy bear, doesn't make sense. But this is a possibility you should be preparing for either way here, especially right now, as most people are starting to get greedy again. And this would actually make sense. Why? Because usually alt seasons, guys, only happen once most of altcoins here capitulate here on their Bitcoin pair to this lower level. As you can see here, you can look in the past, and the worst thing to say is usually this time is different here. So make sure to be prepared for each scenario, okay? If you can handle the risk, it's fine. If you cannot handle the risk, make sure to have invalidation levels here. And of course, I will cover it on my channel here, okay? As always, guys, make sure to be bullish on yourself. That yields the most returns. Do your own research. Super, super important. Most important thing is, don't get wrecked.
God giving up from blue tops like Mars Simpson, just hard discipline, pot simmering, cooking up, no racks in the